Thank you guys for being here on this Sunday afternoon. I think as you look into this was actually just practice number 10. And it's crazy that's our first scrimmage, but we're also starting school tomorrow. So it's kind of unique. We talked about this prior with such a quick training camp. I told our guys post-scrimmage, academics is so important. We're going to handle our business starting tomorrow morning, make sure we're doing what we need to, showing up on time, doing those things. But we still have to keep that camp mindset because we are still so far behind on things we got to continue to implement situational football. It was practice number 10 being a scrimmage in the stadium. It was great to get in our stadium. It's the first time we've been in there. Obviously the changing of the sod since the concert, so that seemed well, but those were all those things that we had to get. And to move it back 24 hours, what we did is yesterday after our practice, we gathered in our team room, and then we went to our team hotel and stayed the night locally. And part of that was just to get a feel for the logistics of what everything looks like the night before a game. I think that's so important. Coaches take it for granted. Okay, hey, what does this meeting room look like? What does the pregame meal look like? What does the bathrooms look like after the team meeting before we get on the buses? What's the bus route look like? Is their walk-through room applicable if we're playing a night game? So we kind of went through the paces as if we were playing 11 a.m. kickoff, kind of like the Georgia game, just getting a prep for that. Next week we'll do a 9:15 scrimmage under the lights in the stadium, and then the following week, the week prior, we'll do a 3:30 mock game, kind of not a true scrimmage, but getting a feel for that. So at the team hotel, last night, hey, what does Coach Roberts' meetings look like the night before a game? Players got a feel for that, right? What is the chicken tenders are good. This needs to be improved. So all those different things, not only for me, for the operations staff, but for the players alike, I think it's so important because we want our players to be as comfortable as they can when they take the field on Saturday. And a lot of that is familiarity. And so I thought that went well. We even drove over this morning, did the hog walk on air. All right, we didn't see any fans. I think rush had finally ended by the time we got through our hog walk. But did that. That was the first time for me. Okay, hey, wow, there's a decent number of stairs. What's that look like? So just going through all those things was so important for us. Coming out today, going through, okay, hey, have we stretched? Okay, this group comes out first. Where are we stretching on the field? So all those logistics were important as we move forward. And then the scrimmage today, we got over 130 plays, so quite a bit. It was good. Obviously, a little bit cooler when we kicked this thing off, but as a scrimmage went on, the heat kicked up, and that's something we've been continuing to preach is being able to play well in the heat of the day. Some good things and a lot of things that need to be improved. We work on some situational stuff. We did a couple backed up situations where the offense started with the ball on the 2-yard line. We did a couple 2-minute situations, one without a timeout, all right, and down 2, one with a timeout, all right, before the 2 minutes, all right, where they had a timeout and they were down 5. So just going through some of that stuff, worked on some 2-point plays, did some field goals and extra points live, and went out there and kind of threw in the mix. And everybody got good work. Again, some of those things we need to continue to improve on as we go in. Hey, the red zone, what's that look like? Ball security, all those things we continue to preach all along. I think the effort is there, but it's never going to be good enough for us, right? We're always going to want to see them playing at a higher level. But overall, please, 10 practices in. How can we continue to push, obviously, with school starting and maximize every second we get with these young men?
Your thoughts on the quarterback play today?
First question, huh? Trey, I was pretty pleased with it. I think, talking with Coach Krams and Coach Mitch, we both have been saying, we've all been saying the same things about the quarterbacks. They are capable, and it's been really, really intriguing to see. It's, AJ continue to make the easy throw, and then speed up the timing of those things, right? Like, okay, hey, today I know OG wrote off some of the stats. Like some of the sacks were just timing stuff. Like not necessarily always on the O-line, but 1001, 1002, ball's got to be gone. And KJ again making great decisions with the football. Right? I don't want to sit here in front of you guys as the media and say it's okay to punt the football, but I'll take a punt over throwing a pick. And so just continue to be better with the decision making. Hank Hendricks struggled a little bit early today and then showed why he's such a touted young man and what we think about what he's doing moving forward. So that's kind of great to see him make some steps. Obviously he's young, but the two guys are competing, AJ and KJ, some good things. The decision has not been made. I'm excited to see, okay, hey, now we go to these morning practices, continue to put them in more situations. I always say this, it's easy in a 7-on-7, right, with no clock to sit there and say, okay, wow, man, all these guys are really capable, but what's that look like, the situational? So, Trey, it's my job to put them in more 2-minute situations, more run checks. So this next week's going to be really, really heavy on that.
Anybody stand out in particular as far as offensive skill guys? I think Chris Marshall, just from Oliver, what he said, had a big day.
Yeah, statistically, he stood out, and he stood out. It was one of those where the stats actually match it, right? Sometimes they'll read off a name, and I'm like, who's that? Oh, the guy with 9 catches. Yeah, Chris had a tremendous day. He continues to show what he's capable of doing. And I told Chris, listen, you can be as good as any receiver in this country. And as we've talked about before, is that consistent thing for him. And it's man, he works hard. He cares about it. Like even when the 4s were in there, he's over there paying attention. He's dialed in. He's hardworking, but it's day in and day out because there's going to come a time. Hopefully, I don't know when that's going to occur, Trey. Maybe the first quarter of the first game, his first ever pass thrown to as a Razorback, or it may be his 30th catch of the year. Right, he's going to drop a ball, and then can he line back up and go play football again, not let that one drop affect him the rest of the game? And that's one of those things that we've been talking about. Sometimes just him coming in my office and talking about, like, man, it's a next play mentality, but quite pleased with his growth and what he did today.
Can you maybe share the format of how you used the quarterbacks? So, like, KJ and AJ, did they rotate with the ones, or how did you work?
Today they rotated with the ones, and so normally in the past, like we said, okay, today's literally KJ's day with the ones, and he's getting every rep with the ones, and then that 2, sometimes we'd let Hank Hendricks get a rack with the 2s, and then vice versa. The next day, AJ was getting all the reps with the ones, KJ with the 2s, and Hank getting a rack with that other group. But today was truly, hey, you go out there with the ones, all right, then you go with the ones. And I think getting a feel for what it's like with that offensive line, what ends up happening is during a scrimmage, those receivers are not rotating, right? If you're on the 2s, why is that guy in there? But I always tell our coordinators and our coaches, like, a 2 can go with a 1, a 3 can go with a 2. I never wanted to see a 4 out there with the ones just because. But today, that's how we did it. Well, I think KJ went with the ones today, so AJ will probably go with the ones next scrimmage to start again. Number of rotations. They both got 2-minute situations as well.
The 8 sacks, and you mentioned some of that was timing from the quarterback, but what did you see that battle, offensive line versus defensive line, for, what did you like, what did you not like there?
Yeah, and I'll be quite straightforward. Some of those other sacks came with the 3 and 4 O-line, and I always think that's such a growth deal, right? Like if the quarterback's hanging on, or if it's a young offensive lineman, that it's hard to pass protect in college football, and so teaching those young guys how to pass protect better. So that's where some of those came from. But I think you get to see those battles. Like I think Kavion Broussard has really, really stepped up and solidified himself as a really good tackle. And I think we have high expectations for him. We've talked about Caden Kittler a lot, throughout the time. But, and I mentioned, I think Malachi Breland's had just about as good a camp as anybody on our team. And that was a question for me. Hey, this guy's coming from the group of 5. Can he maintain? What's that look like? But him going against, those guys, the Hunter Osborns, the David Okies every single day, that's that iron shot burns iron, right? Kavion going against a Quincy Rhodes and a Steven Souls. Steven Souls shows some, really explosiveness, and that's the biggest thing is, can Steven Souls, right? It's good on 3rd and 12, and we hope we're in a lot of 3rd and 12s as a defense, but all of a sudden it's 4th and 1, and they decide to put a double team on you. Can he hold up in that? So those are some of those things, but I've been pleased with the battling back and forth between the O-line, D-line, and the trenches.
Yeah, to hear the stats from today, there was a lot of touchdowns, a lot of big plays. So what did you think of the defense?
There's too many explosive plays. And I always say this on defense, we want to take the football away and not allow the explosive plays. I can live with if you guys come and say, well, Ryan, you guys won the game 12-9. But the defense gave up 500 yards. Cool, great. Let them give up 600. If we can, all I care about is points allowed. Today, there's too many explosive plays, and part of that is we've got to be better with that. We can't allow the explosive plays because we don't want to get into those. No matter what you look at it, we don't want to get in shootouts or any of those things. We got to play complementary football. There's times like that first offensive drive, I believe, was actually a 9-play drive, and then resulted in a punt, which is very rare. Some of that may have been, a penalty here or there that allowed the chains to move on both sides of the ball. I thought the defense did some good things. They've got to continue to step up the communication piece as there's moving parts, as they continue to see. Today, it's one thing, install 7, that's what they're seeing, and then they've installed this on defense. Now, all of a sudden, you're throwing the whole mix of defense versus 140 different offensive plays, 137. I think we ran 3 of the same plays on offense today. Now, all of a sudden, the communication aspect, hey, this is what we're getting here. Remember, our eyes got to be here. So some of those things I think will continue to get cleaned up. A lot of the camp, the defense has been able to, like yesterday's practice, the defense, got a ton of takeaways. Today, not as many. Obviously, you talked about Tyler Scott with the pick 6. But I didn't think today was our best bet on defense, and a lot of those things can continue to get cleaned up. They're running to the football, the effort's there, but some of those things will be able to continue to get cleaned up.
You obviously had goals that you wanted to get to before school started. How do you feel like you hit the marks that you wanted to get to this point?
Yeah, and we've talked about this all along, and again, this is not coach speak. We want to be the best that we can possibly be and being really good at controlling the controllables. So, like, the things that I'm really pleased with is, the effort. And again, I don't ever want to talk about what's occurred here in the past, but everybody's here saying it's completely different, right? The way we're commanding the effort, the way we're demanding it, running to the football, being passionate about playing. I think those things are showing up day in and day out, right? I think that's what's pleasing with me. A lot of the same mistakes are not reoccurring, which is huge, right? Like, mistakes are going to occur all the time, right? Let's not make sure they're the same mistakes that occurred from practice 3 that shows up in practice 5. Then that's on us to coaches to get that fixed. But I've been pleased with that. Another goal we had was the camaraderie, right? Like building that. And people say, well, what's that matter anymore? It's huge. In training camp and the limited deal, right? We had 12 days to get 10 practices in, right? That camaraderie that we built and seeing those guys come together, that's huge. Because like I've said all along, like, there's going to be we're going to face a lot of talented teams, but are we the actual best team out there when we take the field? Are we the closest? Do we win? Do we play for the brothers, right? Do we care about each other? I don't mind talking about, do we love each other? And that stuff's huge to me. And I think we got to see that come together. Things we got to continue to take care of the football better and tackle better. The tackling today, the first full-blown scrimmage, guys getting tired. It's different. Hey, play a rack of 4, go to the sideline, get a shot of Gatorade, come back out 4 minutes later. Man, all of a sudden, those drives occur. Where's the technique and fundamentals? I think that's what allows to the explosive play, some of the bigger plays that showed up today. I think we're in good shape, but obviously you can only get that measurement in an actual scrimmage.
Did you have to hold anybody out today, and do you have any long-term guys that you can talk about?
Yep, Maddox Lassiter, unfortunately, is out for the season. He had a surgery. An upper body injury. So Maddox has been absolutely phenomenal. A young man that we actually thought was going to have a very, very significant role for us. Was playing at an extremely high level, and just a tough young man that unfortunately got hurt during a practice. He had surgery. He's out for the remainder of the year. I've been holding Sutton Smith with the communication with the doctors and our medical staff. Lower leg injury, but I have no doubts in my mind that he'll be full go. I think some of those guys that you've been around, some of those that I have a good understanding how their body works and what's best for them. If he had his druthers, he'd be out there getting 100 plays, but just had him on ice the last few days. I got full expectations that he'll be full go. Other than that, just some soft tissue stuff, but nothing major as we move forward.
We heard KJ led a touchdown drive on the 2-minute drill. Can you just give us maybe some insight what you liked from him on, a situation like that to go put in the end zone?
Yeah, I always say this, 2-minute situations. You guys heard me talk about it all the time. I'm fascinated with situational football. It's my job as a head coach to put us as many situations as I can that will allow us to win games, right? You look at the NFL, so many games are won that last 2 minutes. I also talk about 2-minute situations right before the half. I've got to do a good job as a head coach controlling timeouts, make sure, hey, maybe we got to hand the ball off and punt, and maybe they take a knee to win it. But what I was so pleased with KJ and AJ in his situation as well today is the command of the offense. That's when – Cramsey, let them roll. Let's see what they're capable of. And I think you got to see the command of the offense then, hey, putting a guy in, hey, we got 18 seconds. You better hurry up and widen out, or we don't have time. Hurry up to the ball. Talking the offensive line, screaming the cadence, getting guys lined up, understanding, okay, it's 4th down. I got to make sure I get the first down. Can't end with the ball in my hands. Putting the ball in placements to get a guy get out of bounds. Knowing, hey, Coach, what do you think about the timeout situation here? What about here? Hey, where's our kicker's range? So all those thoughts that are going through his head, that's a lot on a quarterback. So that's to see that to occur with our quarterbacks, that's everything. That's huge. And you can never put them in enough paces because there's nothing like it. Because guess what? First game of the first, when we kick this thing off here in a couple weeks, there's going to be a 2-minute situation for one of these teams prior to half, right? There's going to be hopefully a 4-minute situation for us, right? Just continue to put them in it. But I think those quarterbacks, and KJ in particular today, had a really good command of the offense in that situation.
Then Charlie Collins, we also heard he had a pretty big scrimmage. Just what'd you like from him? What were you seeing?
Yeah, Charlie's done some good things. He's flashed. And I think when a guy's flash, it means they're really capable of, right? And that's great, but I like guys that are really consistent because if you flash and they look good on OG's stat sheet, but he's not reading off what happened on that 2nd and 2. right? And Charlie's done some really good things. Pleased with him. He continues to grow and buy in. We need Charlie to keep his weight up. Right, and I don't mind sharing that with you, like Charlie. So you got to see Charlie go eat multiple times at the food truck today. All right, he's got to keep his weight up, because to play in the SEC at that jack position, he can't be looking like one of us in here, right? I mean, we need him to put the weight on, and he's working hard at it. He's bought into our system, but he has flashed. Now let's be consistent with it.
You talked about Chris Marshall kind of being one of the superstar wide receivers there. Is there anybody else stepping up that you've noticed?
Well, I think we talked about, speaking of the word consistent, I think, we talked about CC a lot in the spring. Like, he's one of those guys just day in and day out does what he's supposed to, right? C.J. Brown. A name I haven't mentioned is Ty Lockwood. He's really done a nice job, right? Everybody knows Jaden Platt is our tight end. We talked about Lassiter's injury. But Ty Lockwood, he just continues to make some exceptional catches out there, does a good job in the run game. So the skill guys there. Markevius Batten actually has stepped up today, did some good things, number 25 for us in the running back room. You guys have told me I bragged on Suttles a lot in the spring. He continues to do good things. And then defensively, right, I've got really, really high things to say about our linebackers, right? I think Quay Smith continues to do some good things. Phoenix Jackson was a little bit banged up early in training camp. He's starting to get his legs back underneath him and do some of those things. Been pleased with that. And then, Miguel Mitchell. You guys know Miguel from what happened last year. Miguel is shown, and sometimes it's hard with those fifth-year seniors, right? They're coming back, and it may have not been the best year statistically from where he came from, but for him to step up and say, okay, hey, this is what I need to do differently to improve, I've been quite pleased with him as well.
I know you guys aren't declining to announce a starter at quarterback. I know you also know you guys track pretty much everything. Is one of those two guys maybe starting to separate just a little bit? No, as much as you guys want to write about it and all that stuff, and I'm off social media, so I have no idea what you guys are saying. But no, it makes our job a lot easier if someone separates, but they're both doing some really good things. I do think, you guys are going to say, okay, good, we get you in a press conference next week, you're going to have the answer. A lot more is going to be told, good, better, and different in the next 7 days, right, with the situations we're going to be putting in, understanding, hey, what this looks like, going back and watching a scrimmage and understanding. I always say this, again, it's really easy when you get the script the night before and say, okay, here are the 24 periods, here's our 2-hour practice, here are my plays that I'm getting on second down. That's why the more we can do, just call it, right? And I try to put the stress on our coordinators as well. Like, there's a couple scripts we've had the other day that says head coach's choice, and everybody on the field's panicking. Like, what the hell's the situation going to be? Well, I don't want anybody to know, because that's football, right? There may be a sudden change here. The ball may bounce funny and it ends up on the 1 yard line, right? Like those things. So how much stressful situations can not only put our players in, but our coordinators as well. But long-winded answer to your question, no, I don't know who the starting quarterback is, and no one has perceived to move in front of the other.
Last time, I don't think we asked you about the secondary. How's that coming along? Who's standing out there?
Yeah, I think, we've talked about this before. Joker Jaheim Johnson has done some really good things at the corner spot. Been pleased with him. And then Lakai Rowland and Shelton Lewis are getting a good rotation at the other corner spot. I think we're continuing to see what those guys can do. Brennan Lee's another guy that's doing some things. It's been pretty good, and I think you're just going to continue to see those guys at the corner spots. Try to see what been pleased, and I haven't talked too much about freshmen. Brandon Ford is a guy that is a young man that but keeps catching your eyes. So often you're like, that's that freshman. Man, been pleased with him and what he's been able to do. And then at the safety rotation, right, we've talked about Kamori House so much in that star position. Been quite pleased with him. Just talked about Miguel and what he's been able to do. And then, Christian Harrison, man, I'm telling you right now, I think you guys are going to sit there and say, you didn't talk, and shame on me, you're going to say, Coach, you didn't talk enough about Christian Harrison, because I think he has a chance to be the heartbeat of our defense with some of the stuff he can do. He's smart, he's savvy. Obviously, he comes from a great lineage. And, man, I've been pleased. So I just named a bunch of guys in our secondary, been pleased with them. They know they got to continue to grow. That goes back to the explosive plays today, making sure we're playing better back there.
You got that nice big Walker Pavilion. You don't ever use it, really.
What's that? Is that our indoors name?
Yeah.
I thought it was the Deer Indoor Pavilion, but yeah, we'll start using it at some point. Maybe for some walkthroughs. We go to morning practices, or if the kids want to do it in the afternoon. But yeah, I know you appreciate the heat, and I know you're out there with a hat on to keep that dome nice and cool. But listen, I'm going to miss being out there in the heat. It gets cooler here in the mornings than I like, but
without sounding funny, I think you have to have that, right? Everybody's like, you really are practicing at the hottest time of Fayetteville, middle of your practice at 4:07. In fact, the other day, like a psychopath, I showed the guys the 5-day forecast, and there was nothing below 101. It was like 101, 100. I was like, guys, by the way, that's exactly right when we're in the middle of practice. And I said it with a smile on my face, and they're all like, oh, we hate you. But you can't replicate that, right? Because I bet it's going to be pretty hot at 3:30 of our opening game. I bet it's going to be pretty hot, about noon of our third game. I don't know what the weather's going to be like in Salt Lake. We can't replicate that or the altitude here until we go and play on top of the indoor. But I think the more we can get out there, the heat's great. We'll use that indoor in due time.